Here by myself.
Yep. I'll call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Breezy Point City Council. First order of business is the Pledge Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I screwed that up.
I tripped over my tongue when you did that. Oops.
Sorry.
You just said a little extra.
I know. The purpose of this meeting is to review and basically to approve the tax increment financing proposal that we have. Bob, if you would like to introduce the dignitaries here before we get started.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to introduce the top management at the Cuyuna
Yes.
Hospital Clinic over here. And the CEO is Kyle Beard and Amy Hart, both from Cuyuna.
Thank you.
We apologize for being under dress code, but we respond from a community event down in Crosby, so we came directly there.
That is absolutely wonderful. Okay, now the first thing we'll do is get an overview and a presentation by Jason Murray from David Drown, and he will kind of get us up to speed as to how all of this is going to be working. Jason.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If you don't mind, I'll pull the mic over the side just in case there's questions from the audience.
Okay.
Is this all right, Kathy? You're fine. Okay, perfect. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. The first public hearing tonight is on the TIF plan itself, is on the overall TIF program for the city, and the TIF plan that you have in your packet really is two things. It's stating the municipal development program for the city, along with the creation of TIF 1-5. If you look at the first section of the plan, the first 5 pages, I believe it is, that's an affirmation or restating from the original development program that was set with your first TIF district, the goals and objectives by the city. So if you look at that modification or that municipal development program goals, you'll see statement of objectives, statements of purpose, and really what we're trying to do is restating those priorities for the city based on its original development program back when you first created your TIF program. So you're going to see things about job creation, wage, housing. There's some housing goals in there, and you also see redevelopment, the removal of blighted conditions and the repurposing of property and that kind of stuff. So as part of this, the reason we felt it was appropriate to do that is the laws have changed over the years since your last one, and it's a good time, since it's been a while since you created a TIF district, is to reaffirm or restate those goals. So the first part of the TIF plan is that modification of the development program. Also with that, and your planning commission has also acted on it, we're reaffirming the goals of the program are to be coordinated within the municipal boundaries of the city of Breezy Point. So you see a map in the back of the TIF plan that highlights the municipal boundaries, and that's the reason we're doing that is we're basically stating to the public and reaffirming to the public that within these municipal boundaries, our goals and objectives of the use of TIF and our development program that promotes tax increment financing, here's our goals, objectives, and requirements too. So with that, Mayor and Council, that's kind of the first half of it. The second half, it gets into the creation of TIF 1-5. This is what we've talked about over the last 60 to 90 days of really focusing on economic development. This TIF plan highlights two parcels. Basically, it's 2 parcels that we're stating that we're going to be part of tax increment number 5. You can go through the plan specifically. You can see a lot of reference to jobs, wages, those economic development related goals. And again, I've mentioned this several times, but I want to make sure that the council is clear that we are using the small cities exemption for this. That allows you to do commercial development on green space conditions. So that is a finding that we want to make sure we make in this TIF plan and make sure that the council is clear that we're using that small cities exemption as part of this economic development TIF district. So with that, the TIF plan governs the activities over the next 9 years. This is an economic development TIF district, so it's really a 9-year tax increment district. The law reads it's 8 years from the first receipt of increment, but it equals 9 years. So that gives you a 9-year economic development TIF district. You'll see things in the regulatory environment towards the back that talk about the 4-year knockdown rule, the 5-year requirement. Basically what those require is that within the first 4 years, first 5 years of the TIF program or the TIF plan, we got to make sure there's development activity, that we incorporate new development into the program. If it's after 5 years, we can't do it anymore. So there's a 5-year window really to create as much tax base as you can in this TIF plan, even though it was 9 years, we're restricted in the first 5 years. So with that, Mayor and Council, I've highlighted the municipal development program and the TIF plan. If there's any questions for me at this time, otherwise I can step back and allow any public questions or comments on it.
Okay, first I'll take questions from the council. Councilmember Maroney.
I do not have any questions at this time.
Councilmember Ball.
I don't have any questions.
Councilmember Bakken.
None?
Okay. So at this point, do we want to open up the public? Okay. So at this point, I'll open up the public forum and the public hearing. And you can please come forward and state your name. And you can make comments and ask questions about the entire tax improvement process on the table tonight. Anybody wishing to come forward for the public hearing? Nobody appearing. Anybody want to? I'll ask it the last time. Anybody to come forward on the public hearing portion of this? Okay. I'll close the public hearing portion. Comments? Councilman Bakken.
None.
Councilmember Ball. Okay. So at this point, we have a resolution. You find that resolution is it was a separate piece that was handed out to you. And this resolution develops or establishes the tax increment financing district 1-5 within the municipal boundary of as defined in the document that we have. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution approving the modification development program for Municipal Development District Number 1 and the establishment of the tax increment financing district 1-5 within the Municipal Development District 1.
Also move.
Is there a second? Further discussion? Councilman Bakken?
None?
Councilmember Ball?
No.
Councilmember Murray?
None.
All those in favor of approving the resolution establishing the tax increment finance district, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution is approved. Now, once we have established the tax increment finance district, we will look at the development agreement that is supplied by White Birch. You have that in your packet. It's titled Contract for Private Development between the City of Breezy Point and White Birch Incorporated. Patrick, you have anything why don't you fill us in on this one as far as how this is stated and any items that we need to be aware of?
So provide item number 5, you're going to hold a public hearing for the proposed business subsidy with the White Birch commercial development. After the public hearing is over, the council will need to consider 2 resolutions, A and B. One is to issue the $225,000 note, and B is to, A and B, not one
Yes.
and B. Adopt the resolution for the interfund loan to advance certain costs by the city of Breezy Point.
Okay. So at this point, council members, I'll start with you, Councilmember Maroney, as far as have any questions on the development agreement. I'm assuming you've had time to look through it.
Yes, I do not at this time.
Okay. Councilmember Ball.
I do not.
Councilmember Bakken.
No, sir.
I'll have to say, I thought it was pretty well written and very comprehensive. So at this point, I will open up the public hearing for the developers agreement. Anybody wishing to come before the council and make comments on the developers agreement, please step forward to the microphone.
Question. This is probably a very silly question that everybody here knows the answer to but me.
Please state your name and address first.
Okay, Heather Care, 8161 Dove Street in Breezy. And I'm just curious about this $225,000. How does it get collected from the citizens? How will it be collected?
Patrick, can you?
Thank you, that's a great question, and Jason and I can handle it, and how about I cover it, and then you, if I miss it, you'll speak. What happens is, there's currently, and I'm gonna back up just a little bit for some of the discussions that the council's held a couple months back. There currently is taxes generated on the property for what was there in the past. When the new structure is built, it'll generate a higher tax amount. What's gonna happen, that in between is called the tax increment. And this, it's approximately $20,000, $22,000 a year that's gonna be generated. And that's how, as this development pays their taxes, then the city turns around and reimburses them for expenses as long as they go through a long list and verify that they've had those expenses.
Okay, so we will, through our property taxes then? Or?
Through this property's taxes alone. No one else is paying for it, just this development itself. That's a great question, and there's a lot of papers to read there, and so that's, I was afraid that might happen. But as this one pays their taxes, let's say 2021, and they pay $20,000 to the county for their property taxes, just like everybody else does, the county sends that to the city, and the city then turns around and reimburses the developer until the $225,000 is met.
Okay,
So
thanks.
There is
I was gonna say, so essentially, there's no taxes or very minimal taxes being generated in the property. That essentially does not change, and as they pay their taxes, it goes back to them.
Okay, great.
And so it's really no money per se out of our coffers.
Understood. Great, thank you.
Yep, thank you. That was actually a very good question.
Good question.
Anybody else wishing to come and ask any questions? Okay. I will close the public hearing at this point, and you have a resolution approving the contract for private development with White Birch Incorporated and awarding the sale and providing the form, terms, covenants, directions for the issuance of its tax increment revenue note in the maximum principal amount of $225,000. I will entertain a motion to approve such resolution.
So moved.
For a second.
Second.
Further discussion? Councilman Maroney?
None.
Councilmember Baca?
No. Sorry.
Councilmember Ball?
Bees.
Yes, I
It's
know.
confusing.
At least we got rid of one Gary. So
One's a lot prettier.
okay, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Our next resolution is associated with that, and kind of the language on this, Patrick, was a little bit confusing to me as far as what this is actually doing. So you can enlighten me a little bit. Jason, okay.
Basically, with this interfund loan, is you're basically authorizing, let me back up. In the first couple of years of this TIF district, the building, it won't generate any taxing, right? It takes a couple of years before the tax finally
Yes.
comes on the rolls. So in those first initial years, you're gonna have some admin expenses. And what this interfund loan does is basically says, we're gonna allow the interfund loan to go, if there's expenses in the TIF district, say we spend first year, there's gonna be some county admin fees for registering the TIF and logging the TIF in. So you're gonna see a negative in the TIF fund. So your general fund's gonna have to cover that. Generally, it's gonna be probably $200 to $300 in its first year. And then you may have some consultant time in completing your TIF reports in those first couple of years. So you might see a negative in the first couple of years of $1,000 to $2,000 by the time you're done. What this interfund loan language allows you to do, and the attorney has a very high number, I think there's 50,000 in the interfund loan. However, we do not anticipate anywhere close to that. This interfund loan basically says, okay, the TIF fund's gonna go negative, we're gonna use general fund to cover that in the first couple of years, but then we're gonna reimburse ourselves. once the TIF starts happening. So the language is a little bit confusing. It does look like, geez, we're spending a lot of money out of the city coffers on this, but it's really not. It's allowing you basically to go the negative in your TIF fund, use general fund dollars in the meantime to cover those admin expenses that you're gonna incorporate into it, and then reimburse yourself. Once TIF starts running and coming on board, is use some of the increment to help pay yourself back for some of those admin expenses. I will state that as part of the agreement with the developer, legal, TIF plan, and some staff time costs have all been passed on to the developer, and they've agreed to incorporate that. So you will not see a large negative in this TIF fund or in this initial setup to pay consultants fees, to pay legal time. The developer has agreed to reimburse the city for this cost.
Okay,
So-
that was a very good explanation. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, so I will entertain a resolution to authorize the interfund loan for advancement of certain costs by the city of Breezy Point in connection with the Tax Increment Financing District 1-5.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further questions? Councilman Bakken?
No, sir.
Councilmember Ball? Councilmember?
No.
Okay, so all those in favor of the resolution authorizing the interfund loan, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The authorization for the interfund is approved. And essentially that that actually does complete, yes.
Before you adjourn though, I think Mr. Spiegel would like to speak.
I was just gonna, okay, you're probably gonna say the same thing I was just gonna say, but go ahead. Steve,
I have
good
to say it. Bob Spizo, 9252 Breezy Point Drive. First of all, I wanted to say thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and the council members and the city staff and the Cuyuna representatives that are here. I think this is going to be a tremendous asset to the community. And all the feedback we've received so far has been very, very encouraging. But it wouldn't have happened without you and the city staff and, of course, Cuyuna. So once again, thank you very much on behalf of Breezy Point and the community that will benefit for this for many, many years. So
Amen.
that's all I had to say. Now,
Yep.
were you going to say the same thing?
No, not quite. From what we talked about this afternoon,
The groundbreaking?
yes. When the groundbreaking that we talked about this afternoon, do you want me to announce that?
Yes.
Okay. There will be a groundbreaking ceremony, which will be happening right after our city council meeting at 6 o'clock. So I would expect maybe about 7:30 or so, we would have the groundbreaking at the North Star Center, the big field of grass right now, which will be soon turned over in big piles of dirt
Wow.
very shortly. So everybody's invited, council members, and we'll be turning over some dirt with our golden shovels and all that sort of neat stuff, like you would normally see at a
Breaking a
groundbreaking.
bottle of champagne on the shovels, of
Well, we're
course.
not going to go that far. So anyway, go ahead, Bob.
Do you need a shuttle bus here to transport everybody?
I don't think so. I think we can make it down there on our own. Yeah, okay, appreciate it.
Wow.
Okay, any other comments anybody would like to make? Meeting's adjourned.
And then a reminder, we have a meeting on Monday night at 6 o'clock, it's a special meeting.
Right, special meeting. We've had a lot of special meetings, which is absolutely wonderful. I am just
Yes, it
really
is.
excited about having special meetings.
I want
because
more.
it means a lot of activity going on. So this is really exciting for me. Thank you very much.
For all of us.